You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
A wildcard spot in the National League because the Mets have a half-game lead on them now after a 9-1 win over the Rockies for New York. Padres beat the Pirates 7-6 to wrap up a 3-game series sweep.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Excuse me, I had a frog in my throat. And good morning. Welcome in to the Friday edition of Inside the Locker Room. I made it to another week. Getting ready for high school football. Start here in a couple of weeks, I believe. And obviously college football, I think it's now, couple of weeks from Saturday. What is that? How many weeks is that away? 3 weeks? 3 weeks from Saturday, I believe, is when college football, well, here in Tuscaloosa, will get going. I know I'll actually look up the first games of college football and let you know about that here in just one moment. We want to thank Yellowwood. Pressure-treated pine from Great Southern. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. Want to build the 5-star backyard, the fence, the deck, the pergola. Build something to last. Then you want to use the best, and that's pressure-treated pine from Great Southern. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, then you don't want it. Download the Tide 100.9 app. Send us an app message. Let us know where you're listening to the show from. You can put that on the X account at Locker Room 109. Go ahead and give that a follow. And we'd love to let people know where you're listening from. We got people listening really from all over the country, I believe. So it's we'd love to have your phone calls, 205-342-9904. We got Chase behind the glass. He's got his jacket on in there, so it must be cold. I know yesterday's heat wasn't as bad as it's been, but I'm ready for this heat to go away. I've had enough of this heat now. Get to where it's a little bit cooler at night and all, so I'm ready for that to get here. Good morning, Dad. I know you had the birthday yesterday, but things will go back to normal today. We'll treat you like you deserve to be treated, or we'll criticize you when you need it or whatever. But
that's all you do is criticize.
For one day, we let you mispronounce things and get away with it. But Chase and I'll be on you today.
I'm old, so you can't help it. When you get old, that's what it is.
Yeah.
U.S. was 17 down, more than that down, against Serbia. Curry. And then when Curry's 12 for 19, and most of them, all of them from a 3. And when you start making threes, everybody goes goofy, and they should. He only made 3 free throws out of 36 points that he scored. So they move on. If you don't guard him, you're in trouble. He was the guy that nobody even wanted. Unbelievable, really. His story, which we won't get into. So they play against France. We'll see what happens. I think that's the semifinals.
That's for the goal. France tomorrow, 2:30 for the goal.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's for the goal. Hoover coaches have resigned. Everybody got lawyered up, and when you lawyer up, I don't really know what happened. I won't make a comment. One of our writers, Kevin Skarbinski, was on the side of whatever. But anyway. That's what happened there, so I can't make any comment about it because I didn't study it, and I hate it. I hate to see coaches lose their jobs, and I don't know if that's what it should have been or not. Jim Harbaugh had 4 years show cause because of doing what he did, and just have maintained that he didn't know about about buying the tickets and so forth. So I got ridiculed for that, but that's okay. That's what I thought. I still think it. I think the other part was it got Braves. Lost 16-7. They're back and forth struggling a little bit. I don't know if anybody keeps up with golf that close, but Chichi Rodriguez, who was a great little player, showman, passed away yesterday, just recently, 88, great guy. I was out hitting balls, getting to play in the Pro-Am, and he had lost his clubs, and he called the pro shop and had the pro shop go get a set of ladies' clubs because they were shorter and they wanted a certain kind. But he got some ladies' clubs, which I thought was kind of unique and interesting. To me, it was. So anyway, he's passed away, and he will not. He hasn't been on the tour that much, but whatever. We're getting ready. You know, everything that Barry and I talk about, at least I talk about, is prognostication of what might be going to happen. Georgia sort of rules everything right now. They've won 3 national championships, and Alabama's got a new coach. That's big. Or can you imagine Oregon is in the Big Ten? And to me, it's quite unusual. The ACC is all messed up as far as uncertainty as to what Florida State and Clemson's going to do. Florida ends up with 8 teams out of the top 20 on their schedule. And tough deal. Bobby Petrino's coming to Arkansas. That'll see if they can do anything at all. I think the Big 12 has got. I don't think the Big 12's got a big line of much identity of coaches. I think Utah might win it, but I'm not sure that they kind of got a mixture to me. So we'll see what happens there. And they're going to have a each player on one player on each side will have a helmet that they can talk to the coach. One player, and going back to NFL days, and that would kind of be interesting. So that coach will be able to tell them what formation to get in and what formation hurt them the last time, and that will be, I think, pretty interesting. We got Jack Crow on today. Jack's always very interesting. We tried to get you good guests, and they've been pretty good so far. And of course, Sonny hopefully will be on. So that's my stuff. I'm sure Barry's got some things he wants to say, and I've said enough.
Yeah, I got a couple things. We had talked about the USA had played Serbia 2 other times, and I think I remembered us saying, or me, saying, don't pay attention to the score. When they get to the medal round, it'll be different. Of course, they beat Serbia very bad the first couple of times they played them, but the third time, when you play a team 3 times, you learn how to play them. Not that they don't know the USA, but they're just a little more focused. They're kind of just going through it. But so that was a tough game there for USA to win. But anytime you play a team 3 times, just because you beat them bad the first time, if they have talent, now if they don't have any talent,
well, that's what I thought maybe it might be a little bit more difficult game because they weren't ready to play. But the rest doesn't matter. It might make any difference. They won, moving on to the championship.
Yeah, so they got to play the home team. Victor Wembanyama, several pros on this team. Victor Wembanyama's the 7'5" kid for the Spurs. Will play for France, so that'll be a home game for France there. So that should be interesting. 2:30 on Saturday on NBC and Peacock. The Olympic Games are coming to an end there, so we'll see if they can win the gold. Jason Tatum did not play again. Steve Kerr was getting a lot of criticism, so they'd better be lucky that they won that game. All right, yesterday, I don't know if it went kind of over people's head or people just didn't want to call about it or what. And it should be an article, so I know they're always looking for articles, Chase, so you need to let your boy Wyatt know about this as an article. I think JC knows college football. I think JC's smart. JC has run recruiting for a long, long time, and he said yesterday that he don't care what rankings say. When we talked about Auburn mopping up the state, that he said, I don't care what the rankings said, I would rather have Auburn's class than Alabama's. He said that yesterday on the show. just because of the kids, they're from here, they're from this area, they're highly rated, they're good players who come out of the state of Alabama. You go all the way across, and I'm not trying to really stir the pot. I'm just saying I thought it was pretty eye-opening that he said that, and we'll see. And only time will tell. I'm not saying Alabama's not doing a great job of recruiting because they are number 2. They just haven't gotten the kids in the state, and he thinks that's a big, big deal. I don't know. Any thought on that, Dad?
Well, I think the thought on that is the uncertainty at Alabama, and the uncertainty comes when articles are written. Kids thinking, I don't know what they're going to do. They're not going to be as good. Those kinds of things. And when the tune is changed at Alabama, and it's changed because they have not played. Now, if they played 5 games and thrown the football away, I think they're going to throw it and play the way they're going to play. We also have to understand that this is now, and the signing date is December.
Yes.
And so I think if I'm the head coach, or if I'm the recruiters and so forth, and I see that I need to really work it, I think I can change a guy that I go to work on. I don't worry about I don't worry about anything about somebody committing to somebody. They never did on me in basketball with the great players, Bobby Lee Hurts and those guys. They got after it pretty heavily. So I would recommend, that's my thoughts, that if my staff got in there all together on the offensive and defensive side, and we met, and we had 3 guys, and we thought, by George, we got to get to work on them, then I would go to the cotton pick and work on them.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why this is. Basketball, people don't really tamper with the commitments. Baseball, they don't really tamper with them. Football, they just know who the competition is now. When they say Auburn, that's who we got to beat. Let's go beat Auburn. You don't stop working. So I do look for Alabama maybe to coaches to get out, maybe see some of the guys that they didn't get, and maybe see some of the guys they did. If they feel like, of course, they can have 40 scholarships, it won't matter. But if they feel like there's some kids here that they didn't get that are maybe better than the ones that they did, I think they start to try to do a little flipping there and try to.
It's all evaluation, son. You got to be able to evaluate and feel like that you. I evaluated a lot of players in my day, and I missed on some, and I hit on some. If somebody didn't, it's just trying to evaluate them. This day and time, as we've talked about, pushed very hard about, the transfer portal is humongous. You get people on your campus and get them to visit, and they turn out to be great players. But they go somewhere else and things don't work, but they had a great visit at your place, you get after them.
Oh, yeah, or you can get them the next year. 2-minute truck, they're at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go in preparation for your move. You're going to pick your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need. Whether it's a local move out of town, out of state, or you just need stuff moved around the house. I got to get stuff in and out of the attic, whatever you need. These guys will come out. They'll assess the situation, give you a free estimate, or they can do it right over the phone. 205-247-5050. That is 2 minute truck. Movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Friday morning. Alabama ranks 11th in the nation in the percentage of children living in poverty. According to a study by the Children's Defense Fund, our state is 11th worst in children's socioeconomic welfare, 8th worst in children's health care ranking, and 23rd in education quality. Mississippi is 3rd in the number of children in poverty, worst in the quality of children's health care, and 26th in education quality. 7 of the worst rated states are southern and are dominated by the Republican Party. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, same song, different verse. We are still moving right along on the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. Skyland Boulevard, yes, you are going to tap on those brakes from time to time pretty heavily between Hargrove Road and 69. But that's pretty much the excitement we're dealing with for the time being.
Brought to you by Tidwell Chiropractic, the only third-generation chiropractor with over 26 years experience in Tuscaloosa. Call Tidwell Chiropractic at 752-2503.
road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance and is backed by an entire team of people you know and trust. Rent a Toyota and let's go places. Reserving yours is a breeze at TuscaloosaToyota.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today. Tuscaloosa's high 92. Mostly clear tonight, the low 71. Weather for the weekend, not as humid. A good supply of sunshine tomorrow and Sunday. The high both days very close to 90. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide football.
Alabama touchdown.
Only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Now, I hear you guys on all these other shows, y'all play like popular music when you bring these guys in and out. Y'all play all this bull snot when y'all play us. We got to start getting some real music.
If you want, I can do that for you.
I know people worry about the copyright. I know when they do it on the podcast, people, I don't know how all that works, but let's see if we can jazz our music up a little bit. But don't be playing John Prime, whatever Dad likes, some bad music.
I got a call yesterday. This just shows you how time flies, Barry. I got a call yesterday from Enos Watley on my birthday. His birthday was Sunday. He started talking about his grandkids. I said, Enos was, it just blows my mind. He was 62 years old.
Yeah.
He's 62 years old. He's in Maryland.
Yeah.
It seems like yesterday we got to laughing about it when Leroy and I walked up the sidewalk. His daddy was working on the car. We talked to his mother, and he did not show up for the home for our home visit.
Yeah.
And it, to me, Barry, that just blows my mind. He's 62 and I had a great visit with him. So.
Yeah, he's doing good. All right, good. Let's get to the Yellowwood Hotline. Pressure-treated pine from Great Southern. Get Tom in. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Barry. Morning, Coach.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We're good.
Barry, you are trying to stir the pot.
Yeah, a little bit. No, he did say it, though. He did say it.
I didn't say it, but that's not what he meant. You missed the point.
Well,
you missed the point.
What do you mean?
Here's the point that JC was making. And it really doesn't matter if you're at Alabama, Auburn. That's who he addresses because he's on a show that's in Tuscaloosa. Okay,
well, I asked you about Auburn's class, and was that a big deal in Alabama?
And he answered it correctly, and I agree with everything he said. But, of course, as usual, you missed the point because you're looking for something you stir the pot with.
Okay. Sometimes, yeah, that's true. Go ahead. What did he say?
Know.
Okay, I missed it. Now,
he said that he'd rather have Auburn's class this year as opposed to Alabama. And then he turned around and he made his point clear that he was not criticizing Alabama's recruiting, but he was saying what his preference was and how he had viewed recruiting over the years. And that the point is you base your recruiting classes, plural, in state, and that's how you build. Yes, you go nationwide, but do not discount the importance of the home base. Just like Coach said, you have got to take care of your in-state. Now, the recruiting is not over yet.
No. I think you're right.
And that was his point.
I think you're right. And I thought he gave credit to Alabama. He didn't say this exactly, but he gave credit to Alabama high school coaches that good football players come out of the state of Alabama.
Exactly.
And so I guess my point is, as far as these programs are apart, like you wouldn't think they would even be close. Now, I don't know if Alabama's even trying to get these kids in state. They may not even. They may say, "Look, we're going to get these other guys. We know we can get them."
Said, last
yeah,
week.
I don't know that, and I think Coach DeBoer and his staff are guys that these kids are going to want to be around and be in their pro. I think this program's going to be special with him. So, yeah, he did say it. Maybe the way I presented it. I'm just surprised that they are getting every player in the state. Aren't you a little bit?
Well, I'm not, because I tell you what, I don't care what anybody says. Coach Freeze is a heck of a recruiter.
Yeah.
And JC said that himself. And that was the point that he made. But I'll tell you this right here. He also made this point, and I made it not long ago several times on this show, and I quoted Coach Jack Crow, who's going to be on today. I quoted him. He said, at Auburn, you don't have to drill very deep to hit water, meaning you can have success at Auburn, and it's really not that hard to do if you're willing to work. And Coach Freeze is willing to work. Anybody that rolls into Auburn and is willing to work will be successful. Now, to back that point up, and according to what JC said, and I agree with it 100%, is that look what Auburn's history is against Alabama. You go down there and say, oh, yeah, we're Alabama. We got a 27 5-stars on our recruiting class. They go, oh, well, whatever. We've seen this before. And guess what? They roll into the game and they hand your ass to you.
Well, I've said it and I'll say it again. The Big Cat Weekend fell at the right time. It's not over yet. Number two, that's correct, because if you find somebody you really need to go after that you lost, and the uncertainty at Alabama is the key. You're able to, those coaches get them by themselves. They give you the real uncertainty as to what Alabama's going to do. You think, and I think, they're going to do well. Auburn coaches paint a different picture.
Right.
Yeah, and this has nothing to do with it, but I remember Avery Johnson when they were asking him about the Auburn rivalries. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I played the Boston Celtics, and they're like, bro.
That was so funny.
Yeah, like he had like the little NBA rivalries compared to this, and I think he learned real fast. Like, whoa,
he sure did. I tell you what, that was a classic moment. In his career.
I think Coach DeBoer and his staff, I think you have to live it to really understand it.
I don't think they have an idea.
Freddie Roach and Gillespie will tell them. But until
they won't get it.
Yeah, until you go through it.
Well,
you know, and this year will probably be a little bit easier because it's here. Normally Alabama smacks them around.
The other factor for both of you is that you get in there with your head coach by himself as an assistant coach, or with your group together, not your analyst, because you don't need to run off at the mouth away from that, and you decide what you need to give each player besides him liking that school, how much you're going to give him to make him really interested. And that becomes a factor in this thing regardless. On the NIL, so what kind of job you can give him and so forth and so on. Because I want to know. Now, I know it's changing a lot, but there are a lot of factors that go in that can be changed between now and December.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%, but I will say this. One factor, at my age, I've seen a lot of stuff go down, and I'm familiar with some of the stories, not all, but some, and things happen and all like this. I'm one of those who says, I could care less about NIL. I've been seeing NIL for years on top of years. Don't give me anything about it. I already know all about it. I've seen it. I've seen it from the ground roots up. And they can run around here and talk about everything they want to. I've seen it. It's been going on forever.
Not like this.
Well, not the amount. Not the amount, but
and not as many guys. Not as many guys. Tom, I have to totally disagree with that.
Yeah,
I think that I've been in it. I think it's a lot of talk about what these guys are getting, this, that, and the other under the table. a lot of that stuff was just talk. I'm not saying everybody in every situation. It ain't nothing like it is now, Tom. It's crazy what it is out there now with how many guys and just average guys making big-time money. Guys that aren't even starting making six figures. Crazy.
Well, I've seen a brown paper bag set down on the kitchen counter in a housing project on a defensive tackle that was being recruited by a SEC school. They set it down. It was full of $100 bills. They set it down on the counter. He gave it back to him. He said, if you leave this at my house, you're going to kill my mother because she's an addict. And ended up, he turned Florida down and came to Alabama. Now, I saw that happen.
Yeah, well, I ain't saying that didn't happen, but
$300 or $400 in it. Don't tell me that it was full.
It's a one-time deal. That's not what had it happened back in the old days.
Yeah, it happened. There's some, but now you got guys that making money now that hadn't done anything before they even get there.
That's what hey, he was living in the house.
Well, I understand that. Maybe like and I'm not saying Dad did anything, maybe like a Enos Watley, like a guy you cannot miss on. You got to get him.
Oh, hey, let me tell you something, then I'm getting off. Thanks for taking my call. Then I got to tell you this. Michael Southern is doing a podcast this week. He's got Enos on there, Coach. It is fantastic.
Okay,
his podcasts are great.
Yeah, I hadn't heard him.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. I'm sorry I made you mad this morning.
Oh, you didn't? Hey, I like it.
I always know how to stir you up. All I got to do is say something bad about it. And everybody says, Wimp and Barry, they're anti-Alabama. No, we're not. We just
I didn't say your dad
I know you
was.
didn't say
Take
it.
that back right now. I never said that your dad was anti-Alabama. Take it back.
Hey, before you leave, tell him he was wrong about Harbaugh.
Oh, no, he's not. He just needs me to explain to him how it happened. Then he'll come around.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Have a good weekend. All right. We'll take the break here. Philip, call us back. We got to get to Coach Jack Crow. We always enjoy visiting with Coach Crow. I'm going to ask Coach Crow about the 4-2-5 defense. Is it a good alignment? Why will it work, or why will it be difficult? We'll see what Coach has to say, because I'm sure he's going against the 4-2-5 plenty of times in his coaching career. You listen to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, same song, different verse. We are still moving right along on the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. Skyland Boulevard, yes, you are going to tap on those brakes from time to time pretty heavily between Hargrove Road and 69. But that's pretty much the excitement we're dealing with for the time being. Starting
now. Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion, Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. I want to thank Pressure Treated Pine from Great Southern. It doesn't have the yellow tag on it. You don't want it. All right, we're lucky today. We're going to the Yellowwood Hotline. He was former head coach at Jacksonville State, OC at Baylor, Arkansas, Clemson. I wonder how you like Clemson.
Don't name all of his schools.
It would take us a long time. You'd have another birthday by the time we got through all of his schools. Coach Jack Crow. Coach, it was Dad's birthday yesterday, so we had to agree with everything he said. So it was a long day for us yesterday. How are you, Coach?
I'm good, and I want to have what he's got. That guy. I'm seeing.
That's what I told him. I told him that last night. He was complaining. I won't say his age, but because he gets mad about that. I said, think about what all you're doing at your age. Most guys your age aren't even living. First of all, if they are, they're not playing golf and have a radio show and drive. Although I don't know that he should be driving, Coach. He's not a very good driver.
I'm a great driver.
We got to deal with that. I tell you what, on Sunday, this happened, sir, what I call serendipitously. I'm going through the airport in Atlanta, and I sit down with a somebody calls me coach, and this lady's sitting next to me says, "They called you coach. Why did they call you coach?" And I said, "Well, I have a little, and I have a little background there. You always try to sort of understate it, but explain yourself." She says, "Well, I know a coach." And I said, "Who do you know?" She said, "I know Barry Switzer." And I said, "Really?" Anyway, one thing led to another, and the story got to the point where she said, "Yeah, one time I just walked into the kitchen, and he's standing there in his underwear." I said, "Hold that thought right there." And I picked up my phone and called Barry. Now, I've done that over time, and I guess it's probably a 1 in 7 chance he'll pick the goddamn thing up. But he picked it up. And I said, "Barry, I got one more woman telling me about you and your underwear, man. You got to explain yourself." And I just handed her the phone, and it's either going to embarrass the hell out of one of them, but it didn't, because she was really good friends with Barry's stepdaughter and had been in the house over a 10 or 12, 15-year period. And, I mean, they went on, and finally I just said, "Okay, I don't need any more of this. I got to get on a plane."
Give my phone back.
Are there any stories about your daddy in his underwear somewhere? That's what I
Well, I don't want to hear those. I don't want to hear those stories.
I don't want to tell them.
All right, Coach. Let's talk some football. It's getting close. The 4-2-5 defense. I'm assuming that's 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. Talk to me about that defense. They act like it's not as complicated as maybe what Nick Saban ran, so maybe younger kids can get on the field quicker.
Visualize.
Talk about it a little bit. What about the 4-2-5?
Different kind of personnel. I mean, really different kind of personnel. You're actually your edge rushers have their hand on the ground, and what a lot of 3-5 people do is they're able to move in and out of 4-man fronts. You know, when you line up a 4-2-5, your pressure packages are built on disguise, and it's a lot more scheming. I mean, it's a lot more trying to fool the quarterback, make him think one thing's coming and bring something else. And that's called a nickel, by the way. And every 3-5 team has their nickel packages. So it's not like those players will be totally, not familiar with this. But, as the nickel package came along, and what that means is that 5th defensive back is a nickel back. And, Georgia, in their heyday in the 80s, that guy that played nickel was All-American 4 years in a row. So you begin to create hybrid positions, and you may have a nickel, that 5th defensive back, and that number 5, 4-2-5. You may have somebody rotating in there when it's pass, different from when it's run. You remember the guy that played at LSU, Sugar Daddy or whatever his name was? He played that position. You never knew when he was coming. You never knew when he was dropping. But he could also lock down.
You talking about the honey badger?
The honey badger, yeah.
Yeah. Sugar Daddy, honey badger, you were close.
Yeah, honey sugar's the same thing, isn't it?
That's right.
Hey, Switzer's 86. Are you close? I'm 76. I don't know what the hell with memory. Yours hadn't faded a bit. Well, mercy.
Yeah, I don't.
Give me some blood.
I don't. Maybe it has. Maybe
that was Barry that said honey badger, not Dad. He didn't know. He don't know honey badger from Joe Namath.
I remember honey badger. I want to ask you this. I don't know if Georgia will be ready for Alabama and hurt them pretty badly in the 4th game, because they will know everything that they've done with the swarm defense. I don't know the answer to that. I guess it's personnel. But one player on each side of the ball is going to be able to talk to the coach in his helmet. To me, that's I don't know how much you've kept up with that. It's a little bit like the pros. If I'm on the defensive side, I'm going to be able to talk to the coach, and pretty much I'm going to be the guy who sets our defense.
And if I'm on the offensive side, they may say, the next play you run this. Is that the way that goes?
Yeah.
A lot of talk between the coach and that one person.
Yeah, but you know what the game is. The game is substitution, high tempo, where you can't match personnel in the game. But even when the package is in the game, and that's what officials are supposed to take care of. That both sides have time to adjust. You can't put 12 men in the huddle and all that rule making. But in reality, that communication piece, really is not just making a call. It's really giving direction for adjustments because and what that guy does that you got on defense, and everybody knows how it works on offense. But there are variables from the time each team lines up. It's what I call how much of the chalkboard can you use inside of 3 seconds once they take a lineman. And how do you communicate? You see these safeties throwing their hands up in the air, making all these kind of hand signals, because when those people line up, you could change it. And then there's motion, and then there's a shift. You could change defenses 3 times in 4 seconds. And that's why people that shift and move, and Georgia's gotten really good at shifts and moves.
You said I could tell it on You said I could tell it on offense. Does that mean that the quarterback is the guy who has the head
Of course, yeah. He's one calling the play.
I can't imagine it would be anybody else.
Okay.
I guess my question on your own defense, and that crowd is going crazy, and then he tells him whatever, and the guy kid so I thought you said this, and so he has him in the wrong defense. When you're holding up one of those things on the side, you're giving a signal. Everybody knows what that signal is, but it's got to go from his voice to his ear to these people. Can mistakes happen in that, Jack?
Can you overdo
it? I think there's still going to be signaling. What really comes into a person with correct information is what is most important to the adjustments. It's not just calling a play or calling a defense. That's a moment in time that can change.
Yeah.
And what you want your guy that's running the show from the field to do is be alerted to what the adjustments might be.
Yeah. Can you overdo that, Jack?
Yes. You can. Yep. You can distract the hell out of your own damn team doing that stuff.
That's what I thought. Yeah, you can overdo that.
Overcoach.
Yeah, some coaches that think that they're really the brains in the game, and there's some coaches that just teach them to play and let them play. And there's degrees as a matter of degrees. And, one thing I remember about Irk Russell, which, they dominated at Georgia when he was a defense coordinator.
He's great.
I think Kirby and Muschamp are of the same accord. What they do is very subtle. They're going to beat you with slight adjustments, but not show you a lot of different stuff. Now, unless he's changed, he does that out of a 4-3, which depending on if you take a 4-4-3 and depending on who the weak side linebacker is, you're a 4-2-5. Just by whether that's a safety or a linebacker. And it's a 5-man front if you put somebody in the game that puts there's basically a line of scrimmage edge player. So all these things sort of are hybrids of the other. But I do think that what Nick he did in requires something that goes all the way back to recruiting. You're going to get a Lawrence Taylor. You're going to get a guy that can drop, but his biggest skill set is I'm going to whip that tackle's butt. I'm going not going to confuse him and not let the quarterback know when I'm coming and when I'm off. I'm going to literally put my hands on this tackler and I'm going to play with him. I'm going to throw him down. I'm going to twist him. I'm going to swim him. I'm going to rip him, and I'm getting to the quarterback. Now, Nick made a made a lot of money taking that approach. When you commit yourself to a four-man front, you really, in my opinion, limit yourself on some highly skilled pass rushers. And these become, I mean, these are the guys that are going in the first round now. These guys.
Let me ask you this. This is a question of somebody that doesn't know anything, okay? It looks to me like when you go to the swarm defense, that there are going to be a lot of plays that you really rush the quarterback and you get them for a big loss. But there are also going to be a lot of big plays by the offense where you thought they were doing one thing and your eyes thought they were doing one thing defensively, and they did way something else. The Tennessees in this world. Is that accurate?
When you got five defensive back and you got a honey badger, he can be playing a half the field, which is back there, and commands. You throw it past 20 yards, I might get this thing, buddy. All the way from there to standing on the line of scrimmage and you having to change your pass protection because of where he's lined up. Because until he walks up on the line of scrimmage, you don't have anybody to block him. It just creates, that it really tries to put a lot more pressure on the quarterback. There's a lot more done at the line of scrimmage. Like I said, everybody's got a nickel package. Everybody does that in what we call a quarterback down, which is second long, third long. But it's just a matter of approach. But I think it is indicative of what kind of personnel they're trying to recruit to.
Well, I was going to ask that. Some places they talk about it's hard to get really elite defensive linemen. I don't think it is at Alabama, but maybe South Carolina can't get the elite defensive linemen, but they can get more defensive backs, so they go to that alignment because it's harder to get that type of personnel. Is that true, Coach?
That's it, Barry. I mean, Barry, the reality is, but the other side of it is who you play against. Because when you play Georgia, they will roll two tight ends in there in a 4-2-5. You're in real trouble. You have created 8 gaps, and you basically got 4 gap control guys in a 4-2-5 with 8 gaps to cover. And the minute 12 personnel comes in, I mean, you could have a 260-pound tight end blocking a 205-pound safety running a stretch play, and that 205-pound nickelback, whatever you want to call him, he is in real trouble. We went to play Georgia for the SEC championship, and we got in 2 tight ends, which people would have said, man, all you've done is turn all this loose, but our tight ends made it work. We beat them. Of course, we were giving the ball Bo behind that tight end. That helped a little bit.
Yeah, Bo helps a lot. He helps your offense a lot. Go ahead,
Well, I can't think what I wanted to ask you. Let me think about this.
Let me ask you this, Coach. I know going on the road is going on the road. So Kalen DeBoer is taking a team on the road. I know in SEC basketball, sometimes though, you get on the road, man, and the momentum gets to going against you, and that crowd's in a frenzy, and you try to call a timeout, and the crowd's even louder, and then you just can't get it turned back. And I've seen that happen in Williams-Brice Stadium at night. South Carolina, not a great team, but the momentum gets to going, and it's just there's nothing you can do. Is it hard to? I know coaching is coaching, but sometimes it's just hard to even overcome that. Well, Coach DeBoer and those guys see some of that stuff?
I think they're going to get an education. All right, because there are some places in the SEC that if you hadn't been there, you just think you know what you're getting into. And I had been at Williams-Brice in 1987, and it was the most rattled football team I ever coached.
I've seen it.
In the recruiting standpoint, Auburn had. I maintain that Auburn is Auburn, and they do a good job recruiting. But the reason that they did well at Big Cat was because of the uncertainty at Alabama. Each coach convinced these guys that there's uncertainty there, that they're not going to be what they have been. You can say yes or no to that when I get through. But the other factor is the other factor is that if you have months before the commitment and months before the guy signs, I work my butt off changing them. Pat Dye and y'all would have worked their fanny off if they'd lost 5 kids to Alabama to try to get them back. Comment on that.
Well, when there's no evidence, you can make it whatever you want to make it.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem they've got is uncertainty. And you can, there's certain people, some people aren't this way, but most people are. If you can get a grain of uncertainty and turn it into a ton of uncertainty, and that's what recruitment. But on the other side,
that's what they do now because it's uncertainty at Alabama.
Yeah, and on the other side, if you got some certainty, you can't ever back up.
Yeah.
You cannot like maybe in this game we're talking of, this battle we're talking about, Auburn has a degree of certainty. Let me tell you what, it ain't certain till the last hour of the pen touching the paper. So you can't get comfortable on either side of that issue.
Coach, you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, you faded out right there at the end. Is there a big difference between Southern kids and kids from, say, out west? I know the skill maybe level different. Is there a difference between the players between the West Coast and the South?
Yes.
What is it?
Culture. The people, and that's the reason the SEC everybody got scared to damn death of the SEC. It was the main reason, starting with Michigan, that they undid in the old days having athletic dorms, because the South had them, but they were able, because you had that kind of living space situation, to create stronger cultures. And they either had to match it or they had to make it illegal to have them. And you see what happened. Just became a matter of policy, a matter of a vote. The have-nots took on the haves. But there's always been a battle of the Southern culture of the life and circumstances of a young man. And I'm telling you, they're never going to have it in California. I mean, we can make it a red and blue situation if you want to. So that's about what it is. Same kind of, what's the value system? How much is football really what your life's about? Well, they talk about it like there's their life some places. They live that life in the SEC. What's the slogan?
Just means more. Just means more. Yeah.
Hey, there's a life behind that statement.
Yeah. Here in California, there's so many other things going on. College football, high school football in the South, man, that's you build your weddings around that. People don't get married. If you get married in September, you got to realize a lot of people aren't coming. Why? Because of football. I don't know if that happens on the West Coast.
Yeah. You don't ask this question, Barry, but it's relevant. Texas has a culture problem. Every once in a while, they talk about the University of Texas, where my son went to school, that I played umpteen times, that I've had maybe 7 of my people that I've raised in coaching. The head of NIL, coach, they call it coach relationships down there, at Texas, was with me, and I basically trained him to recruit. So I really know about that place, all right? They have a harder time than anybody creating team culture. And because that university in that town, it ain't Tuscaloosa, it ain't Athens, It ain't Auburn. And those guys go to class, people don't even know who they are. A little different in Tuscaloosa when one of those guys go to class, ain't it?
Yeah. I think everything's online now. Dap?
Yeah.
Well, they got a schedule that gives them a chance to, whether they're good or not, as good as I think they're going to be. The schedule is.
You talking about Texas? You talking about Texas?
Yeah, I'm talking about Texas. You know, in my mind, is a schedule that if you're halfway stay together, because the Vanderbilts, Mississippi States that you're playing, and the people that you're playing, they got Michigan the second game. Michigan was good last year. They ain't gonna be that good this year. And they got Georgia. Yeah. They got Georgia, but I think Texas got a great schedule.
Yeah, and I don't think what I'm saying about culture is not this year. I think Sarkisian. I think they've. You can build a broad enough surround like online classes. You totally incubate your team, and they have. That I do think they've got a strong culture at Texas right now, but it's inside of a culture that really is probably the least SEC culture of any school. Is that university and that town? And if y'all spend any time in Austin, I don't have to explain it to you. And you walk down the street, you know it's different. Like I said, my son went to school there, and like 8 guys that went there, I was on the phone with them all the time. So,
well, Coach,
but the culture of Alabama is the strongest culture, and maybe in the culture of sports anywhere.
I think from what I've seen, and he's doing it his way, but he doesn't ruffle people's feather. He's very easy to get along with. We've had people come in here and do it their way, but the way they did it and the way Coach DeBoer is doing it has been totally different. He has everybody on board right now, Coach. I've never seen anything like it. It's unbelievable what he's done.
I truly think he's a great football coach. I will say this, and I've tried to say this. When people start comparing him to Nick, they're not comparing apples and apples.
Yeah.
He has nowhere near the broad authority that Nick Saban had. And so ultimately when it comes to having your problems and solving your problems, he's going to try to do it with being a great communicator and getting it done with his people and his system. But his overall authority in the complete domain of that football culture down there, nobody will have what Nick had and be able to handle it. I think people have had it before, but hell, not only did he have it, it wasn't a gift. It was just a big-ass job, and he managed it.
Well, you made a good point. I know you got to go, but the fact of solving problems as you go through that schedule, personnel problems that come up with authority and all, will be a little bit different there. And I think Barry's right. He's done great. I think he's going to do. But problem solving is a big factor through the season.
Yeah. And Wimp, Barry, when you're in a season, you don't know what problems are coming the next morning at 9 o'clock. I mean, you wake up in a new world every day, and you got about 10 minutes to make 2 phone calls to solve a problem. All right? Who are you talking to in that 10 minutes? Well, some people talk to one group of people, and some people talk to another group. If his only solution is call the athletic director, they're not going to get solved very good.
Coach, we appreciate it. We can't wait to visit with you throughout football season. It's getting close.
Thank you.
All right, man, and I appreciate the call, and Wimp, great to hear from you, man.
All right, thank you.
All right. Hey, and we don't want to see him in his underwear. All right. Thank you, Coach.
And you won't.
All right.
And you won't. All right. We'll take the break here. Good stuff from Coach Jack Crow. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, it's Gary Harris. Friday morning, it's the TGIF edition at 9 a.m. of the Gary Harris Show right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. Our high school football previews continue, plus Brett Pritchard with the Auburn Report and Fox Sports play-by-play announcer Adam Amin. All that and more Friday morning at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, it is your rush to work time, and we're starting to beef up in the area now. I am seeing some slows on 43 as you move southbound onto McFarland Boulevard. And then we've also got McFarland Boulevard in itself on the eastbound lanes to Lurleen Wallace. A little slow. Lurleen Wallace.
Year-end clearance sale at Townsend Nissan going on now. You can save thousands. See BJ or Kylan today at Townsend Nissan, your savings place.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the
$100. Visit us at 3537 Skyland Boulevard East or check us out online, bmwoftuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
At the Olympics, U.S. men's basketball team won its semifinal match over Serbia 95-91, but had to rally to do it, outscoring Serbia 32-15 in the fourth quarter to pull out the victory. Steph Curry had 36 points. LeBron James, a triple-double with 16 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists. Up next for the U.S. will be the host country, France, for the gold on Saturday. In baseball, the Mariners beat the Tigers 4-3. Seattle now back into a tie with Idle Houston for first in the AL East. Yankees lose to the Angels 9-4, while the Orioles fall to the Blue Jays 7-6. So New York and Baltimore are still tied for the AL East lead. Brewers outscore the Braves 16-7. Milwaukee, the NL Central leaders, get the 3-game series sweep. Mets beat the Rockies 9-1 and move past Atlanta and into the final wildcard spot in the National League by a half game. Padres wrap up a 3-game series sweep with the Pirates with a 7-6 win. San Diego just 2.5 back of idle LA for the NL West top spot.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today. Tuscaloosa's high 92. Mostly clear tonight, the low 71. Weather for the weekend, not as...
Experience the wow factor. Contact Shoot Masonry and Specialties at 205-887-3807 today and unleash your home's full potential.
Inside the locker room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. 205-342-9904. Dial us up if you'd like to get in on the show. We want to thank Allstate Insurance agent Andrew Kniffer. Andrew's my agent. Let him become yours. He makes it easy. We had got a new car in the family and had to get rid of the old, so I just text him the information, say, hey, make the change for me. He takes care of everything for me there. He could do the same for you. Give him a call today. Look for home, life, auto, whatever you need. 205-722-9201. Andrew Kniffer, Allstate Insurance. All right. Chase, we got to get something when I say I'm going to stir the pot. Maybe you could have something like a pot boiling and we can hear it stirring. And I know there's been a lot of people kind of joking about this on X, but I actually think it's real. And here's what I'm talking about. This is one thing that I think Coach DeBoer has done that's, I don't want to say wrong, but maybe not good. Dad, did you see the coaches show? Now the Hey Coach show is going to move from Thursday to Wednesday. And it's going to be 6 to 7:30. And people are saying, that's church night. He's doing a coach's show on church night. I go to church on Wednesday. And I think some people thought that was funny, but I think in the South, and then they practice right now on Sundays. They're practicing on Sundays. So these little guys can't go to church. Is that a big deal? I kind of think it is.
What time is a Sunday practice on?
I think they've been practicing like at 9 in the morning on Sunday. Go 9 to 11 something. So you ain't going to church.
I don't think that's good.
I don't either.
I think if they go and practice it, since Sunday is a day that they want to practice, for whatever reason, I think they need to practice Sunday afternoon.
I agree. When I first saw it, and I know why they go in the mornings, but I would just probably, if I was going to worry about the heat or whatever, going in the afternoon, of course, you're going to be playing, I'd probably practice indoors on Sunday, but I probably would let those guys go to church.
I would too.
I think that's one. And even moving the show, I don't know what the reason is, but moving it on a Wednesday, not that I mean, you're going to listen to the show or you're not. I mean, I guess, and they have people come out, and they're going to do it at Baumheimer. And I know they let other coaches come out there, but I mean, Wednesday night is kind of a church night around Tuscaloosa.
It is.
So I think that's one decision that maybe they should
go back to Thursdays.
Yeah, I would go back and say, Coach, I just wouldn't. I might not have been a big deal out in California or Washington or wherever, but in the South, they take their church serious. I wouldn't practice during church.
No, his wife needs to advise him too.
Yeah.
And I think the SID, and I don't know who the SIDs are there anymore. I've got confused trying to do some stuff with them. But I think the SIDs who need to, he's easy to deal with, obviously, from coaches. If somebody disagrees with him and needs to go to him and say, we don't need to do it like that. Now, if he says that's the way we're going to do it, okay. But you give him the opportunity to think about that. If you are the SID is really big in these coaches' lives at times. They really know the downs and ups of the public, the downs and the ups of the statements. They are. And Finus Gaston was the SID there for 100 years when I was at Alabama, and I went to his office, pulled the window up, and watched George Wallace standing in the schoolhouse door.
Well, we have really bragged on Coach, and the buck goes to him, and we bragged about the culture he's brought in, the changes. This is just the one thing that they do that it made me go, ugh. Not sure about that one. That's probably the only thing that he's done where I went, ugh.
I would totally 100% agree.
I would probably not do that. I probably would not practice at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. And I probably would not have my coach's show on. Now, he may have a valid reason. It's just the only thing that he's done. Nobody's perfect, and maybe he's got a valid reason, but I just went, ugh, on that. I just get to the Andrew Kniffer hotline and get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Morning.
Good morning. Really good show today. Really good show.
Thank you.
On the DeBoer thing and recruiting and all that, I just made some bullet points on all that happened when he got hired, and time was of the essence. Okay, so you had a giant retire. You had the GOAT retire on January the 10th. DeBoer gets hired, I think, on the 12th, if I'm not mistaken. He had to deal with a new 30-day portal window that started when Saban retired. So he had to fight through that for 28 days. He had to fight through that portal, which ended on February the 10th. He had to re-recruit Ryan Williams, which was huge, which he did. He had to sign Ryan Williams, which I wasn't sure that he was going to be able to do, but he did.
Well, I'm going to stop right there. You're right about all that. And I said that is a humongous recruit for him. Like, if you're having to pay, like, you got to overpay. You can't not get Ryan Williams. And give him credit and his staff. They did, because I thought it was a must get. And
so I'll finish just a couple more. So he had to get players, which he did, and he got them signed. And, for the most part, got a good class. And then he had to start on 2025, which he has done. and now they are, highly ranked in the nation as far as rankings go. And the Smith kid and the Coleman kid, it's not like they just went straight to Auburn. They committed to Alabama at one point. They flipped. All right. So recruiting's not over. I don't know if they'll fool with Coleman anymore, but he's flipped about 3 times to each school. The Smith kid, I don't think they're going to stop recruiting. As a matter of fact, they've offered his brother. The season hasn't started, which brings me to a couple of things. Alabama needs to beat the smithereens out of Auburn. All right. If that happens, I think things sort of get cleaned up a little bit with the concern that people have about recruiting, because I think it will turn around. Now, if Auburn goes into Tuscaloosa and wins, then that's an issue. So I think that he had to get players. He did that, and I think that was big. That sort of was symbolic that the program's still rolling. So
yeah, I'm gonna hit pause. Yeah, you're right. The Alabama portal did open for Alabama, but it opened for Washington players too. And what did he do? He lost a center. He went and got his center. He lost a receiver. He went and got his receiver that knows his offense. So I don't, he was able, it did open where he left to, and he took advantage of that with his relationships with those guys that he's already coached. That's a long way to come from Washington to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But he went and he plucked his own roster. So the portal helped him. As much as it hurt him losing, it helped him going and getting some guys familiar with his system, which I think helps inside that building.
And then, there's another player, Cuevas, the tight end, came too from Washington. So I don't blame him for taking him.
No.
It's a cutthroat world out there, and I would imagine he's going to continue to recruit the guy from Selma. May not get him. He might continue to recruit Coleman. May not get him. In fact, Alabama may lose Turbo Rogers here in the next few days to Auburn. So I understand why people get bent out of shape over it, but when the season starts, a little that'll get put in the backside, and how the season progresses and plays out and how these two teams do against each other will be gigantic this year. Be gigantic.
Well, Alabama will handle them this year. The game's in Tuscaloosa, they're usually not very close. And it is here this year. But we'll see how Auburn develops this year. I think they got more options offensively to help Peyton Thorne, which, I've been kind of critical of Peyton Thorne. We'll see. Obviously, you see something there. He would have went to the portal and gotten somebody. So I think he thinks he can win with him. So we'll see. Maybe
now the coaches show thing, Thursday night, I always sort of felt like Thursday night was way deep into the week. I never had anything really against it. I had to work a lot on Thursday nights. I missed every single show last year because I was at my other job on Thursday nights. Wednesday nights works good for me. I'm on Eastern time, so I can go to church and then listen to the show.
Yeah, I guess it's the only thing that and practicing on Sunday that they've done that I say, I don't know about that. And everything else they've done, and maybe when, and I'm sure once they get through a fall camp, they probably won't. And they may have chapel there at the complex that somebody comes. I'm sure they do.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't Scotty Hollins involved with that?
He is a chaplain there. I know with basketball. So I'm sure they utilize it, but people like to go to different places. I'm just saying that's not one that I would probably practice in the afternoon if I was going to practice. So that's probably one thing that I probably wouldn't want to. You're going to ruffle some people's feathers on that. So why? Just practice in the afternoon. But that's just me.
I'll tell you, the scrimmage coming up this weekend, that's going to be interesting. I was just happened to see late last night, I was watching a replay of Andrew Bone, and I believe the guy that helps him on his podcast is a fellow by the name of Tim Watts.
Yeah.
And Tim made a statement. It was a replay I was watching on their podcast. Tim made a statement that he thinks Jeremy Bernard will be a first-round draft pick.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things coming. Now, I think he obviously knows the system. He's comfortable, because he feels like he knows what the coaches want. And so there's a lot to that when you're comfortable, and I'm sure that he is, because he's been very successful in their system, and he played behind some NFL guys there at Washington, and he was probably the next guy up. So yeah, I think that was a good get for these guys. So Phil,
well, that scrimmage is going to give you a lot to talk about for Monday. So you guys have a great weekend.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. I'm looking at the website right here. I can look at all the new inventory. I can look at the pre-owned. I can schedule a service if I want to do that. If I want to rent a Toyota, I can do that. If I need to order a part, I can do it. I can look at the beautiful Camrys, 3.99 APR on the first 36 months. They got the RAV4, which is one of the hottest selling cars of all the cars, 3.99 APR for 36 months. The new Toyota Highlander, you can lease one of those. They got plus $1,000 loyalty cash back. They're $429 a month for that beautiful Toyota Highlander. So all the cars are right there. Justin, David DeSantis, they do a great job. I think I helped them sell another car yesterday. So Justin is rolling this month. And they do it off relationships. So swing by Skyland Boulevard and tell them that Wimp and Barry sent you. All right, we get to Coach Sonny Smith. You listen to Tide 100.9 at 1230 a.m. WTBC is the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, TGIF. Oh, it's Friday light out there right now, so that's always a wonderful thing. Now, it doesn't mean we don't have some slow goes in our typical spot, and that is, of course, Miss Lurleen Wallace herself. On the northbound lanes to McFarland Boulevard, you do have a kind of a long line of delays back toward 20th.
By Tidwell Chiropractic, the only third-generation chiropractor with over 26 years experience in Tuscaloosa. Call Tidwell Chiropractic at 752-2503.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today. Tuscaloosa's high 92. Mostly clear tonight, the low 71. Weather for the weekend, not as humid. A good supply of sunshine tomorrow and Sunday. The high both days very close to 90. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. All right, Coach Sonny Smith. Emergency this morning, so we'll have no Coach Smith. So phone lines will be open the rest of the show. If you want to jump in on the show, I asked at the beginning of the show to send us an app message where you're listening from. Wow, 70 years, old guy from Tennessee, living in the Philippines, and now putting my hopes on Alabama to win it all this year, Chuck. So Chuck's listening to us from the Philippines. Chase, have you ever seen the movie The Water Boy?
I have.
All right, so I guess this app mentioned the words of Bobby Boucher, I'm sure his mom, it's the devil. And I guess she, in the movie, everything is the devil to you, mama, is what Bobby told her. Well, I like school and I like football. So maybe that's what they're referring to practicing on Sunday, as it's the devil. Chase, any comments on the Sunday? And I had a guy just text me and tell me I was using a big spoon stirring the spot. But it's out there, the conversation.
Well, sure it is.
And I thought it was worth bringing up. What do you think?
Sure it is.
What do you think, Chase?
I agree. I think it was worth it. That is strange, though, why they would have practice. Or really, they would move Hey Coach, because Wyatt had asked me about it yesterday. And I looked into it, and I was like, wow, they moved it to Wednesday? Yeah. I know, like, church, like you were saying, it's big in the South. Like, me and my girlfriend go on Wednesdays. So I can only imagine, like, how they're going to have to flip things around and stuff. And then on Sunday, like, that's a double whammy right there. Like, yeah, holy cow.
I don't know. What were you saying, Dan?
No, I don't remember now. I'm okay.
Well, I mean, I think it's just, I don't know. It's, I would probably change it. Just why ruffle anybody's feathers on something like that? There probably are some kids that genuinely like to get up and go to their church or whatever. So.
You rub the mothers the wrong way, and then the playing time with the mothers and daddies is big to start with, and it just adds. When they're fussing about playing time, and then they add that as a second thing. He used to always go to church on Sundays. It becomes, instead of one thing you're fussing about, it's two, and they're looking for some reason for their kid to transfer, and that's not a big thing to make them transfer, but they combine that with the other things that they dislike. The guy next to him is, from what they tell me, he's getting a lot more money. The playing time is not, it just does. I dealt with it too long, and when the money involved, particularly, but it was playing time and substitution patterns. When you substitute, why you substitute somebody else instead of the other guy's kid? Recruiting is a very delicate thing with some families. With some families, it's not, but it's a very delicate thing when recruits listen to a lot of people. If they're lined in with their mother and daddy, and everything's in line pretty much, the brothers and sisters are everybody kind of lined up, what you want to do, that's great. But if you listen to a lot of people, and if you listen to a lot of things that are said by other people, you get confused.
Would you coach differently now? And what I mean by that is, like, when I'm coaching out at Northridge, like if we're playing Bryant and the game's, then I'm going to, obviously the game's going to come down. I'm not going to play everybody. But if we're playing a team that I know we're going to beat, I'll get them all in the game and try to get them in the first half if I can. If it's a team I know I'm going to beat, then I try to play them all. I think Saban didn't really do that. He kind of played his guys. At the very end, he would get those other guys in there, but the quarterback basically was just taking a snap and handing it off. I think you have to coach different now.
Yeah, I think you do. Here's the problem. When I coached, I was tough on my guys. And listen to me. Regardless of people, whether it's away from coaching or whatever, when you go through tough times, you do not enjoy it. When you get through tough times and you look back at it, you love it. You are glad that the guys mashed you. You're glad that the guy made you better. You think that you're pretty much in line. When you're going through them, you don't like it. So if my guys had been coaching for me, I had been coaching now, and we had gone through it, they would have left me. Probably. They would have transferred. The portal gives them the opportunity. There wasn't as much, and I didn't have anybody transfer hardly at all. And so when I went through it with them, we tried to make them better. And as I said and I'll say it again because we got different listeners, we went to St. John's in my first year. And we beat St. John's at St. John's, by the way. We went there, and the NIT, they trying to get rid of us. Lou Carnesecca was the coach. And I walked in, and I said, I'm having more problems with my kids. I said, I'm not getting out of them. I'm not doing this, doing that. He said, Wimp, I'm having triple times what you're having. He said, I've been in it a long time. I'm having all kinds of problems, too. One of my coaches said to me, Coach, you're mashing them and trying to make them better, but they don't think you care about them as people. And that one sentence right there made me realize that I had not made them understand me as. And for the next 11 years, I made darn sure that I mashed them the same way, but I loved them. And I cared about them, and I tried to make them better. With Little Rock, wherever I was, well, maybe in Little Rock I mashed them more, but I tried to make them know that we were trying to make them better. And I get more, not a lot of calls, but stuff on my iPad or whatever, birthdays and stuff. Not on people, but I just think you gotta understand. I think what I'm saying to you is agreeing with you.
Well, I just think when you play Western Kentucky, we probably going to beat Western Kentucky. I'm going to throw that receiver out there in the first half, and he'll feel so good, man. That freshman guy's going to run out there, and he's going to get to play. We get to that. I'm going to script it, but I'm not going in thinking we're going to beat Western Kentucky. But if I feel like we got the game, and I look out there and say, there's no way this team can beat us. Ty Simpson's getting in there in the first half, and he's going to play, and he's going to run the offense, and I'm going to play a lot of guys, and I'm going to try to keep them happy. Yeah. They play, they're happy. The grandparents are happy. Their mamas and daddies are happy, and it makes it easier. Now, I get to LSU, and I'm on the road there, then that's it. The guys that can win. But when I can play those guys, I don't know that Coach got them in there as much but I think with the portal now, you have to do it. You have to get them in there, keep them happy, play more guys. They'll pull for one another, and do it when you can. And coaches will have a feel for that. So I don't know that everybody coaches that way.
Okay, what would you say was the correspondence on the earphones between the offensive coordinator and coach?
What do you mean?
Well, about whether a guy, can I, as the offensive coordinator, use the head coach? Can I tell him to put a quarterback in?
I probably would talk to Coach DeBoer about, and these guys have worked with him, so they know.
That's big.
Before I would have his, do you mind, Coach, if we feel like we have it in hand, even in the first half, can I put the second string in? Right. Are you okay with that? I would know that before. We all know when you get out there and they start playing, you can look on the other end and know whether you're going to be in a dogfight or not that night. And so,
well, you know, but you don't do that in a 31-20 game.
No.
Because people score on you too fast. You got to know, well, you in your meetings with your head coach and your offensive coordinators. And yourself, you've got two offensive coordinators at Alabama. They got a head coach that's offensive minded. You have to sort of study that and know that in your meetings with Coach Saban and everybody to see where they go. And I just wondered if I'm scared to say something to Coach Saban about playing another quarterback or not. Not scared, or I don't.
I think Coach DeBoer is different. I think he's a guy.
I know that, but I'm saying what's happened in the past you don't like, and why did it happen like that? That's the question.
Yeah, like I'm not going to ask Coach can I put?
Yeah,
because he might fly off. And Coach, they talk about Coach Saban, and I love to hear the stories. The guys that played for him and coached with him, how he was after losses. Everybody thinks he would go in there throwing things. They said he was so calm after losses, and he would go in there, and it was like he had those guys back because he knew what was coming from the outside. So he would rip them harder in a Mercer game that they were supposed to win by 40 than he would in a game that they lose, because I think he really feels like they really tried their best in those tight games that they lost, but he wanted them to still be on edge against Mercer. So they talk about how he was in the locker room after loss. They said he was unbelievable in the locker room after losses. That would surprise most people. It doesn't surprise me, but just your thoughts about that. But if you're playing somebody you're supposed to beat and you're not playing to the Alabama standard, he even if there was like 5 minutes left to go in the game, you better go in there and do it the right way, because at some point you will be in there when it really matters. That was big with him, and I think that's why they never.
It's big as most coaches, big with me too. I think you got to beat the people you're supposed to beat, and you got to be ready to play. And mentally, it's physical. 3 is to 1, and if you're good mentally, you got a chance to be good physically. And if you're not good mentally, then you're not going to be anywhere near that you need to be. Out there on the football field, wherever you are, you just got to be ready to play, and I think that's just a huge factor in having your team on a consistent basis be good every time. And that sometimes you will play somebody that's just better than you are, and you can't beat them. But you don't say that, but there are times that happens to you. So coaching is a tough thing, and knowing how to handle them and knowing how to handle the problems, as coaches mentioned just a minute ago, Jack mentioned. You have the problems that come up through the year with assistant coach coming in and saying, I'm getting all kind of calls from Joe Blow's daddy about him leaving. The transfer portal is a thing that I don't think it's good for kids' discipline.
All right, Chase, so you know how this works. All right, so I'm looking at it now. In 15 days, college football starts. Not Alabama, but there's a few games a week before. And this is how we did this last year. So it's all we let Dad have an exhibition blue plate special. All right, so now you have to understand, if he wins, Chase, he's going to count it on his record. Now, if he loses, it was an exhibition game, and he was 0-0. So we're going to look at some of the games. I'm going to get him. There's only, let's see here. We got 1, 2, 4 games on August the 24th. Now, the other game.
That's just the early.
So that's like the appetizer. It's like Chase, it's like an exhibition game. So it doesn't count on your record. So I'll let him know what those games are. Now, when he picks it, he won't pick it today. It'll be a little bit, but if he loses, it'll be an exhibition game. If he wins, then he puts it on his record. So you have to understand, how this thing works around here. And so he will inflate his record any way he can. All right, let's tell him about, it's not your birthday today, so I have to tell the truth. Let's tell him about Bryant Bank.
Well, Bryant Bank is a bank that I've banked with for a long time. And all of you don't know me, but I'm very careful to do with my money what I think is best with it. And Bryant Bank fits that mode. And so I go in the bank here. They know me, and I know them, or I go through the window in my car. And so you have 4 banks in Tuscaloosa. You have a lot of banks in Birmingham, and you have several banks throughout the state. And I think if you're wanting to be darn sure that you can bank online, all night, online, do what you need to do, generally speaking, have the people in the bank know you. The banker will know you. The people that surround him will be very helpful to you. And that's the place to go. It's just sort of doing it at home. I think that's the best way to go, personally, because they're going to do everything they possibly can to be sure that your funds are taken care of. So go by Bryant Bank, tell them you heard it inside the locker room, and I think you'll be well pleased. All
right, we got to get Chase to pick up our intro music. So he takes care of Christian and Corey, but we get all this boom, all this nappy nothing music. We got to have something where you're bobbing your head a little bit when you come back from break. Chase, come on.
All right, I won't let you down. I promise. Moving forward, we won't play this sappy music y'all been used to.
See what you come up with. Gary loves his music. You got some guy that calls in on Friday from Florence or somewhere that talks about music, and Dad likes his music. He just doesn't know good music. So, John, John Prime. Do you know who that is? Me either.
Yeah, I like him.
That's his favorite. Do not play that. Or you can, but not every time.
No, you ain't got to play John Prine.
Who's your favorite?
I don't know. Play any kind of country music that's really upbeat. But
we'll see what Chase comes up with. So Chase might not even like country music. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, TGIF. Oh, it's Friday light out there right now, so that's always a wonderful thing. Now, it doesn't mean we don't have some slow goes in our typical spot, and that is, of course, Miss Lurleen Wallace herself. On the northbound lanes to McFarland Boulevard, you do have a kind of a long line of delays back toward 20.
All from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance and is backed by an entire team of people you know and trust. Rent a Toyota and let's go places. Reserving yours is a breeze at TuscaloosaToyota.com.
A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside. That's the best you got, Chase? Nah, I'm just teasing. It's better than
from LA. Give me some break.
Yeah. We'll get better as we go along. I threw it at you today, so you have to kind of do it on the fly. All right. 2 weeks from tomorrow, Dad. I don't know why they're doing this in Dublin. Florida State and Georgia Tech are going all the way to Dublin to play, which is silly. ACC game, so somebody's losing the home game there. So that'll be the first game. Florida State 12-point favorite. The other three games you got to look at: Montana State.
Yeah, I've looked at them.
Will play at New Mexico, so they'll be over in Albuquerque. Montana State's actually favored by 8.5 in that game. SMU travels to Reno, Nevada to take on Nevada.
And there's no line on this last one?
The line is 26 on that SMU going to the ACC. That don't even sound right. And then Delaware State and Hawaii over in Honolulu. There's Delaware State. Maybe they're 1AA. I don't know what Delaware State is. So, those are your games that you have to pick from. That's not a very good slate. Why in the world would Florida State and Georgia Tech, they must be getting some cash. Why would you go to Dublin and play?
Is that where they're playing?
Yeah.
Really? I kind of like that game.
Well, it's not going to be on.
Scared of it now.
Yeah, it's 12 for Florida State. I'm sure that stadium's humongous over there. How many people are going to go to that game?
Nobody.
In Dublin.
Georgia Tech won't have any home field advantage whatsoever. Florida State's a lot better this year than Georgia Tech, I think. Georgia Tech is very well coached. The guy does a really good job. His staff is good. They are good, and they will play hard. Florida State is going to want to try to show people how good they are because Florida State and Clemson are favored to win the league. So they want to, the scores are going to be run up against teams that you can run up on. I'm not sure about this game, but you want me to do it now?
No. I don't want you to do it now. It's
Montana and New Mexico, or I don't know much, but I've got to study. That's the lowest number we have of the four games that Barry's mentioned. Now, I have imagined that there'll be a big number at the Hawaii game if there is one, because Delaware State not going to beat Hawaii. But I tried to study them a little bit today before show was on, and you've got some of these games where the winner is going to win regardless. The numbers are huge. I mean, the numbers for the team that's supposedly going to win big, numbers are big. Ohio State's got big. Everybody's got big.
Yeah, it's like numbers. I'm looking the first week in the SEC. Temple is taking on Oklahoma on the Friday, and Temple is a 42.5 point underdog. Now,
sure, you can't. It's just, you're exactly right.
But I would look at those games. If I were, I probably would stay away from those games. But if they do what I said, like if you're worried about the portal and you just want to start emptying your bench, then those teams can score some late touchdowns and backdoor cover. on those games like that because you'll start playing guys, and then because you want to keep everybody happy now because of the portal. And, you know, Oklahoma may be up 48, and you stick them in there, and they score a touchdown late because you got your walk-ons out there. So
it gets, you know, you got to know the teams, but you also got to know, you know, is the Arkansas Pine Bluff is absolutely awful. They can't beat. They're terrible. They're gonna have a.
They don't even have.
Arkansas is a 52.5 point favorite. 52.5 points. Well, you don't know how to bet that.
You don't. This Clemson Georgia game's interesting to me. It's going up. So Georgia now is a 14-point favorite over Clemson.
Yeah. Well, that takes away the 2 touchdowns. It makes you have to score past that, which is a little bit dangerous on you. Missouri,
who?
Missouri.
Who's Missouri?
Missouri's playing Michigan State, Murray State, and Mo is a 47.5 point favorite.
Yeah, I don't see the line on the ESPN. I don't even have a line on that because Murray State's.
Well, it's 47.5.
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be available to your bettors that are leading on your Blue Plate special. Like Chattanooga, there's no line on that one right now. Miami and the University of Florida. Ooh. Florida's got to get that game, and they're a 2.5 point underdog. Underdog at home.
Yeah, they're a 2.5 point favorite dog on the game. I think Florida. I feel like that talking to some people. Of course, Neil's son's down there, so I don't know. I think Michigan State and Florida Atlantic is interesting. Michigan State's a 11.5 point favorite. Doesn't seem to me like
Chase, do you understand these lines and all that?
Michigan State to boot.
Do you understand the lines?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so would you have to watch him, too, on when you do the lines? Like, these lines will change during the week. So he'll say, well, I saw it at 8 earlier in the week. Well, it's not how that works. Like, when you say what it is, it's what it is on the thing. You can't say, well, earlier in the week, because the people that are relying on him to pick the game, they got to go on that number. So we always tweet out the pick, the line, and his record.
Well, how can Vanderbilt be a 13.5 point favorite on anybody?
They're not. Virginia Tech's a 13.5 point favorite.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're not. And this Blue Plate special, each and every week, will be brought to you by Chuck Norwood and the Norwood team for Remax of Gulf Shores. Buying or selling, contact the Norwood team for all your Gulf Shores real estate. 251-948-1212. They had somebody that was going to buy some property here, Chase, in Tuscaloosa, and rent it out to college students. I'm like, man, go get you a place from Chuck Norwood down there, and someplace you can actually enjoy and rent them. Those things rent out. They're hard to get. So he doesn't rent them, but you can buy one, and then you can make money on them, and he'll know all the great deals down.
Ohio State?
Yeah. Go to chucknorwood.com. Ohio State, what?
50 point favorite. 49.5.
Who they playing?
Akron. That's a lot of cotton picking points, you know. And I understand that when you get a 30-0, you won't play all those guys they haven't played, try to make everybody happy, and that they could score enough to.
Chase, look and see who the coach at Florida Atlantic is. Florida Atlantic at Michigan State. I know Michigan State's had some problems. That line's 11.5. You would think Michigan State would be a bigger favorite at home.
That's what I thought. That's the reason I mentioned it. I thought that.
Yeah, so those kind of games you're looking at.
The coach at Florida Atlantic, is Tom Herman.
Oh yeah, he came from Houston. Tom Herman. I guess he took over for. I don't know who he took. That's where Lane Kiffin was. I'm assuming. So
Lane Kiffin got sued. You knew that.
Yeah, because he put an excerpt of a book and didn't give the guy credit or something. Get out. If Lane Kiffin puts it out there, as many follows he's got, you might sell a few books. Right?
Yeah, oh, sure.
I mean, why is he looking at it like he's going to sue the guy? Why don't he look at it like, hey, I'm going to capitalize on that? Lane Kiffin read my book and he liked it. It's going to help me sell more books. People are crazy.
Oh, they love to lawyer up.
They're crazy. Yeah, I hate that for the guys in Hoover. I did see the video. It's hard to really tell. I just hate that we always have to. Can we not give a guy another chance? Just say, hey, look, this has got to stop. I know they lawyer up, and the lawyers went for them when they said we humiliated the kid. You know, we can't have people like that teaching our kids. Well, this guy's Clay Chalkful. He's done really, really well. Nobody came out from Clay Chalkful saying there was a problem. The players that are on Hoover's team, a lot of them came out and said, yeah, he's different, he's tough, but we need it. We've been soft. So we always have to end in a firing. Now, maybe there was a fireable reason, but they ended up resigning, which basically they said resign or we're going to fire you. So basically you end the guy's career when this happens. So is there any way to ever get a second chance in these situations?
I don't know. I think maybe you might be able to go back as assistant coach somewhere.
Yeah, you got to be a tough administrator and know you're going to take some blows, but stand by a guy every once in a while. But
administrators got to be tough enough to take you. You got to sit down with the guys to what happened at Hoover and try to get that. You know.
Yeah, everybody said, well, if that was your son, you wouldn't think, well, maybe I would. I don't know. I think the lazy way out is to always just fire people in these situations.
That's just sort of who you are, you know.
Yeah.
LSU and Southern Cal.
That's in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, we'll go to break, come back and wrap up the show. Make way for the Gary Harris Show. It's a free-for-all. What does Gary call his Friday shows? Free-for-all Friday? Give us a Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Friday edition of The Game, we're going to do Free For All Friday, sponsored by Brian Harden Construction. One day closer to the Alabama scrimmage. We'll preview that and a lot more starting at 2 p.m. here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, TGIF. It is a light Friday for you, and when I say light, it is light. So we're moving right along on those roadways. Construction zones are what you have to maneuver around, so just watch out for that on 2059 eastbound between Western Bypass and Tuscaloosa Coaling. And then we've also got McFarland Boulevard.
Deal or text DEAL to 511-511.
Your order is back with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today. Tuscaloosa's high 92. Mostly clear tonight, the low 71. Weather for the weekend, not as humid. A good supply of sunshine tomorrow and Sunday. The high both days very close to 90. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back. I don't know who that music is. Who is that?
That's Brooks and Dunn.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we'll have to let it play a little bit. All right. Huh?
I don't like instrumental music.
You want to hear some singing?
Well, the only reason I have to play instrumental music is because like copyright issues, and like I don't want you know.
Oh, you don't want you and Lane Kiffin too.
Like
yeah, well, they have people like when they put them up on our podcast, and they just put the whole show, but they play the music. Then people say we're whatever with their music. All right, we're gonna finish the week out. Oh my gosh, we got an app message, and they're bragging on Dad. Should I even read it, Chase?
Give me something.
It's not his birthday. Should I even read this?
Yeah, please do.
It's Friday.
I need something positive.
All right. Here we go. I'm going to stomach through this and read it. I was hoping Gary would walk in. I could read it to him. But he says, this is Nolan. And Nolan lives in Nashville.
Thank you, Nolan.
Spring Hill. Coach Wimp just gave out some master class wisdom in leadership. When you're going through tough times, you don't like it. when come out the other side and have grown from it, you love it. And you can push and challenge people, but they need to know you care about them as a person. Well said, with 3 exclamation points. So,
thank you very much. What was it guy's name?
Nolan.
Nolan, you're a genius in Nashville.
Nolan Richardson. Not Nolan. Nolan was his name. And I got Gary's Friday thing wrong. It's the TGIF edition of the Gary Harris Show. And Gary will make them play good music. They don't play good music for our show for some reason. Like Gary. We got copyright. Gary got copyright.
Barry's giving out wrong information today.
I'll tell you what I want to do on our show for now on Fridays, Chase. I want to play fight songs, and we'll see if Dad can name them every time we come back from break. Can we do that? All right. So
I could name Coffee Will Shine tonight. That was my high school.
No John Prime. And Gary's got some guy that calls in and gives some music update. And Gary thinks he's a guru on music.
Well, Gary wished me a happy birthday, and he's on the only media guy that did, so I appreciate it.
Oh, wow. He said you were the only media guy that wished him a happy birthday. He's probably the only guy.
I didn't get many.
Yeah. Well, all right.
I took it off Facebook.
Yeah. Michael Southern gave your age, so I told somebody.
Yeah, God darn, Michael Southern can be fired.
Yeah, I told Michael Southern if he was in the wheel, he's out. All right.
He's out right now. I'll tell you that for
You
sure.
love Michael, but when Michael put that up.
No, I didn't care about no records.
I screenshotted it and sent it to Jim and Scott and said,
I didn't want to put that in. That's the worst thing he could have done. I wanted to
he put the age. He doesn't want anybody to know how he does, so I screenshotted it and sent it to our family and said, I don't know if Michael Southern's in the wheel, but he's out now.
He's out. I'll guarantee the Cotton American guy, he's out.
Well, love you, Michael. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great weekend, everybody.